Hello, welcome back to Galton Parkway. Join me today for a bit of an update on the layout. Now, I was conscious that a little while ago I said that I would be doing a full sort of guided process on how I build the new extension that we looked at in the last video. Unfortunately, that hasn't really come to fruition. I've been really busy, I've started a new job and I've just not had the time to film it as I go by. I've been coming out into the garage and sneaking the odd hour here and there in the evenings and the odd afternoon, and I've just not had the time to set up the camera to go through everything. I find that when I film stuff as I do it, it really slows down the process, and it does take enjoyment out of it a little bit for me, just trying to constantly describe what I'm doing, turn the camera on and turn the camera off. So sorry to let you down with that one, but we will go through now and I'll show you what I have done and what I've gone through so far. If there's any particular questions about what I've done or how I've achieved anything, just give me a shout in the comments and I'll do my best to answer you. But what we'll do, we'll go through, I'll give you a full layout tour now because there has been quite a bit of change. We've got some new rolling stock that's quite nice that we'd like to go through as well. And yeah, we'll just have a general catch up and we'll go from there. Any questions and then any requests for further information, I can look to put together in the next video. Thanks everyone for your patience with this, and we'll start having a look at the layout now. Okay, so starting at this end of the layout, there isn't actually a great deal of change here. We've still got the same office buildings and the sidings there. One of the things I have done with this part of the layout really to try and improve it is to peg back some of the bushes. I got quite a few bushes and little bits of polyfibre that I used to create some scenic effects and bushes and shrubberies and create divides in the landscape at ground level throughout the yard. This was overdone in places, so I've really stripped that back and pegged it back quite a bit. So that's really the only thing that I could think of to tell you about up this end of the layout. We've still got the usual setup. We've got the far road where you can see the pair of 47s. They're siding roads that you store wagons in there, locos in there. There's normally a couple of locos sat spare in there. We've got then the road in front of it, very similar, same thing as for wagons and locos. The road where you can see the 37 here, that's the main reception road that comes down from the Fiddle yard. So those locos come under the main line through the tunnel section, they'll come into that reception yard and then they'll shunt back and forth. And in the front yard we've got, front road on the yard is, that ties in with the wagon repair depot kind of area. So we'll move forward now and we'll have a little bit of a look at the middle section of this part of the layout. So the recent changes that I've put in place on this part of the layout is to actually change the shed that was here. I previously had a railway laser lines shed. It was one that was based on the T's yard wagon repair depot. Now, truth be told, I built that in a bit of a rush. I made a little bit of a hash of it. I was building it right into the run up of expecting our twins, and it was kind of I was just doing it to distract me whilst that was happening. And I botched it a bit and ended up cladding it with plastic card, and I didn't really do the kit justice, so I decided to get rid of that and just put this backman shed here for now. I quite like this. I managed to get it at a fairly decent price. I've used this before. Some of you might remember my old layout, Talbot Lane, that had one of these on it. It's quite a nice simple shed and it serves its purpose as a wagon repair depot. I've also managed to just put some signage on there too, so I've made some signage, and we'll go and have a little bit of a closer look at that area of the layout now. So here you can see the wagon repair shed that I've put in place. You probably all know this is a Backman Scene Craft item. I do tend to cheat a lot with Backman Scene Craft items. I don't have masses of time to scratch build stuff, so it's a really quick way for me to actually be able to get something that looks quality on the layout pretty quickly. It is a bit of a cop out and I should scratch build stuff more, but I just don't have the time with work and family commitments to be scratch building too much. I will scratch build the odd bits and pieces, and I have scratch built something which we'll see in a minute. I'll just give you a quick long shot down the layout there. You can see a little bit better how everything relates together. You've got the main line that comes into there, where the 37 is the reception road, and then a couple of shunting roads there, spare road there for class 37s, or for spare road for whatever, where those 37s are sat. And yeah, that's how this part of the layout's looking at the moment. As for the main lines, nothing doing with those any different yet. One of my next projects that I need to tackle really probably is getting some signals sorted. I'm not quite sure how to do these yet. I previously had the train text sensor signals, and they were quite good, but they looked quite clunky and chunky and weren't quite perfect from a realism point of view. I mean, none of this layout is perfect from a realism point of view. I sort of hit a certain standard somewhere between prototype and freelance, but one of the things that I would like is signals that look a little bit better than what's available off the shelf. So eventually there'll be a signal that sits around about here. The main reason for it is so I can put it on red. I've got quite a few sound fitted locos, and it gives you a good excuse to stop them and pull away with a heavy train and create a little bit of noise, etc. And then there'll be another one on the opposite line further up towards the left hand side of your screen there. What we'll do now, we're going to have a look at the main TMD buildings. There's been quite a bit of work there. So I'm sure many of you will know that this part of the layout and the depot area, my main inspiration for this is Margam and the old TMD that used to be down at Margam. Now, I have again used the Backman Scenecraft building, which we've already seen in the previous video, but what I've done now is create the shunter bay, and I've scratch built this. Now this shunter bay, it's reminiscent, not a copy of, but reminiscent of what used to be at Margam. So essentially where you can see the back part of that shed on the far road, up until sort of the early 2000s, that was a bay where they would keep their shunter, and it ended level with the front of the depot. Then an extension, which is this large part at the front there, that was put on. I believe that extension was put on when EWS stopped working out of Canton, to allow them to be able to carry out some heavier duty work. So I decided what I would do, I would add this on. It wraps around the existing TMD building quite nicely, and it also makes it a bit more unique. I'm conscious when I use these buildings that, I try and make my layout look really nice, but it's got the same buildings on as everybody else. So it's something that I wanted to do. It gives it more of a Margam type feel, and it makes it a little bit more unique. So I'm pleased with how that's come out. It's basically just a cardboard building, or it was a cardboard frame base, whatever you want to call it, shell, and I clad it all in pastacard, and it's come out fairly nicely, I think. I've added some further sort of EWS type embellishments on the building, so you've got the different road numbers there, 1 and 2, and then 3. This tank has been moved. That was up down the Wagon repair depot before, but I've moved it up to this end, and there has been some fencing put across the back just to sort of protect any workers from straying onto what is an active-ish piece of main line there, where trains can come on and off of the scene. I need to put a stop board here, or think about some signalling for entering the yard, but that's for another day. I will do signalling. I'm quite bad at organising signalling, etc. For some reason it tends to fall quite low down my priority list when it shouldn't. So yeah, that's pretty much where we are with that. I've put fencing. This fencing wasn't here before, just running around again to separate the depot area from the rest of the layout, and I've stripped back a lot of the bushes. The bushes along here were quite high before, so I've dropped those back just to try and make them a little bit more realistic, and I'm quite pleased with how that's come out. We've got the signage, which I think was there before anyway, that you'd have seen. There's your standard EWS or safety signage, and you've got an old Transrail sign. This would have been a Transrail depot before EWS got hold of it. The layout's based sort of from, I'd say, 98, 99 onwards to about 2005, 2006. So it was quite feasible that there would still be Transrail signs here. Like I said, it is a totally fictional layout, but I like to try and give the idea and the illusion that it's based on something. One of the other things I've done is had a little go. I bought some Model U, I'm not sure how I pronounce it, figures. I've had my first go at painting up one of them. I think it's come out quite decent. I've got a bunch more figures to do, but they are quite time consuming to paint if you want to paint them nicely. So yeah, this is the first guy that I've got on the layout, and I've got quite a few more to do, so yeah, pretty pleased with him. He's quite cool. And yeah, I will show you the next little thing on here, which isn't massively exciting, but we'll have a quick look at it now. So my fuel points are the canopies, the Batman Scene Craft ones. They come normally on a base, which I've shredded off of them and just had left the canopies. And basically, I didn't like the way they sat on the canopies on the bases. It didn't look very realistic. Canopies would normally be planted into the ground, so that's what I've done with these. And I've got some new pumps which I need to complete. I need to put the hoses on them, the fueling hoses, etc. But those are from I think they're mud magnet models. I picked them up at the Taunton show back in October, so that's quite a while ago I got them, and it shows you how long it's been since I've done any work on or done a video on the layout. But yeah, those are there. More detailing to go. Bits and pieces need tidying up around the fuel point in general, but I thought I'd share that with you, seeing as it's something else that I've added. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to see there. You can see my model of 37414. This is a new Bachmann release. I've weathered this up, tried to do it quite subtly. Pleased with how that's turned out. I think of the new generation 37s from the various manufacturers. I really do like these Bachmann ones. The sound setup's not quite as clever or good as the Acura scale ones, but I think for me, I do really like these Bachmann ones. I'm quite pleased with them. So I've got this, and I've got another one we'll have a little bit of a look at later on. Right, so in terms of major work, I've done quite a bit on the Romney extension. As you'll see, you won't have seen any of the scenic features on this as of yet, and like I said, my intention was to do it and go through it blow by blow as I created the layout and did all the scenic work, etc. But I've just not had the time. So what I'll do, I'll go through what I've done now, and I will show you in detail how we're looking and where we're up to on the Romney station extension. What I do is introduce you to the name of the station. I've decided to call it Galton Vale. Galton Vale is obviously a bit of a follow-on from the Galton Parkway thing, but it suits a bit more, I think, rather than being Parkway station. Parkway implies that it's on the outskirts of a big, massive town. This really isn't. This is supposed to represent the end of a valley's line, and I thought Galton Vale seemed a little bit more appropriate, so we've called it Galton Vale. Starting at the far end of the layout where the sort of head shunt area was, that you remember, you can see that I have created an area for a car park for the station, and we have got that, there's this little embankment that drops down to where the lines are. Now I'll explain why I've done that and why that area there is raised and how this will all tie together. So essentially, when you look at most stations, station buildings tend to be level with platforms. A lot of model kits and model railways that you see, people will have their platforms and their stations up at this level and then steps going up to them. But if you look at pictures in the real world, it's increasingly unlikely or increasingly rare that you have the station building and steps up to it down from a lower level. So I've raised the level of the surrounding terrain, and I think it's paid off. It's given a nice bit of transition in the scenery. So if I drop down there, you can see you've got the rails at a lower level car park. So what I've tended to do, I need to put some car park markings down on here. I've put my model cars over towards the back there so that you can see them rather than parking them up against the fence, because the view of them is quite obscured through the fence. So I prefer to have them over the back. Now, one thing that's a bit annoying about the era that I model is nobody really caters for cars of that period. So I've got some sort of really mid to late 90s cars on here. I think probably the most era appropriate car is this Vauxhall Vectra, I think it is. But yeah, there's really a massive gap in Oxford diecast range cars of my era. So I've got ones that are roughly around and about that era, and some sort of older ones that could feasibly still be knocking about. Got this little Escort that will need battering up a bit. I've got some sort of Maestro Metro-y type horrible thing there, and I think that's a Vauxhall something or another. But yeah, anyway, they're all area appropriate-ish. So just pop those in there. I'd quite like to get some more cars, but there we go. We'll move down now and we'll start to have a look at the station itself and the platform. Okay, so looking back down the layout, you can see the station platform. I've got a couple of buses here. These are Brewers buses, which were a local company to South Wales. One of them was kindly given to me by a friend, and the other one was picked up fairly cheaply on eBay. So I'll show you those in a minute. But firstly, we'll have a little look at some of the signage that I've put in place. So this is signage that I've made myself. That one is copied from one that used to be at Romney. It says start of token section. So essentially you'll have your loco will run round. You can see where I've got the rolling stock there. The loco would have run round and it will reverse onto its train, and when it passes that point it enters back into the token section. These two head shunts are for shunting. We talked through the track plan in the last video, and you can see up there the shunting yard, stabling yard, and where I've got to with that. So I'll walk along a little bit further for you and we'll go through this in detail again. Vegetation brought up, and then it's all sort of built in. Platforms are scratch built, so this entire back piece here was made with 18mm MDF thick sheet. So I basically built up the level of the ground to what the platform needed to be. So you got this big wedge of wood that runs down there, and all I've done with the station is clad the edge of the wood, created a ramp there, and you can see how it all ties together. Other features on here at the minute, what have we got? We've got station lights that I've put on. These are from a company on eBay, forget who. And then I've started to put some fencing alongside, all been sprayed into Arriva green corporate colours. And then there's a Gauge Master Ford Hampton sheltery type thing that I need to finish. That needs some windows putting into it. What else is going on? Not a great deal. You've got this area of Wasteland that was in front of the running lines. We'll have a little bit of a closer look at that because I've done something with that. What I've done with this piece of land here is just put some garages. It was my intention to scratch build garages, but then I went to Worley back in November. I never thought when I'd next be making this video that Worley would be cancelled and no longer exist, but there we go. And there was the Backman sales stand were knocking these out cheap as chips. I think they wanted about £6 each for them. So I picked up 3. They fit quite nicely there, and then the scene just sort of drops off. So I'm gonna add some more detail there, perhaps have a bloke working on his car out the front there, but I wanted something sort of quite low profile so that didn't obscure the view across the layout. So I would say probably this end of the layout, it's getting there. It's not too bad. I'd say about 75% done. I just need to carry on with this. Now, the work that you see here, I know this is the first time that you've seen this, but I've probably not done anything on this for 2 or 3 months or so. I've been working on the other side of the layout, doing things to the TMD, replacing those station buildings and adding that scratch build. So this has been quite neglected for a while, but yeah, I know you've not seen it before, but I will go through when I get to the other end how to do all of this shrubbery and a layering of grasses and terrain, because I know people are always asking me, how do you do your terrain, how do you do your shrubbery? So we'll go through that. We'll have a little look when I get around to building it, I promise. At the end of the layout that I've not done masses to, we've got the stabling roads here. These haven't been ballasted at all yet. Everything else has been ballasted and weathered to a point, but this hasn't been touched at all. I decided that I wanted to get a little signal box as well, and I also wanted to have a semaphore signal on this section. So, true to my lazy fashion, I've got a Bachmann Scencraft signal box. This is what's it, Coombe Junction signal box it's called. It's a Western region box, so it fits in about right. Got a little path there, steps coming down from the edge of the platform, path to the signal box, and then there'll be a path that goes across here to the unit stabling yard. Then over the back here I've got This will be the scenic brake. This is another Bachmann Scenecraft item, and that will just have, there'll be a road there and an embankment that drops off and comes to the edge here. I was originally going to have a big old factory in the corner there and try and disguise the entry to the layout with that, but the more I think about it, the less I think it's going to work, so we've gone for that. But I'll get a little bit closer up here and show you what I've done with the signal box area. So this is the signal box area. The signal is a Talbot DCC signal, so it's operational with the Z21. It's quite nice. I wanted a semaphore. Semaphore signals are a little bit more exciting than perhaps colour light signals are, so I've got that there. I've started to fill in the ballast, and then I've got I think this is some sort of hybrid DCC concept, West Hill Wagon Works platform end steppy type job thing. So I've got that there, so I have the steps down, and then I'll have to put the brick wall on the end to match the rest of what I've done. And then, well, as you can see, there's not been anything really done behind where I've put these lamp posts. There will be a big sort of warehouse type jobby there that I've got to build, and then there'll be some shrubbery and scenery that will help blend in this area here and blend the level of ground down to there. Hopefully everything should all tie in together. I've got to work on that. I really need to start having a look at that. And then I've got this area here that I need to come up with some ideas for. Currently on the shortlist, I think we're probably going to have a porter cabin and some parking for the Arriva train crew. There you go. You can see one of the 37s, and it's for Virgin Mark IIs there. And that's pretty much everything with this. So I'll give you a quick pan over it once more, and then we'll discuss a couple of other little bits and pieces. Okay, so something else that I've worked on is sorting out the lift out section. Now, it absolutely annoyed the hell out of me. I had a section I had to lift in and out and in and out and in and out every time I wanted to come in and out of the garage, and it got to the point it was actually stopping me from running trains because I was coming out here and I couldn't be asked to put it in, link it up, wire it. There was a little plug underneath to link the power connectivity, so I decided to replace it. I've now got this. This is just a hinge section now, and it simply drops in. It's a hell of a lot easier to manage, and I can just nip in and out as I want to. There's a wire underneath here that links the power, and it will go through. So much quicker for me now. If I come out here, drop that, and if someone shouts at me to come in, I can just stop the trains, flip this up, and away you go. Now, another piece of admin that I've done, and this job is something I absolutely could not be bothered to do for ages, but it's become vital since I've put the extension in front, is to wire up points on every single one of these points on the fiddle yard. It's really rather annoying. They're all DCC operated and feed into decoders which are underneath the layout. This took me ages. I did this sort of over the space of 3 or 4 weeks around the Christmas period, but they've all just got Pico surface mount point motors, apart from the ones where you've got no space to get a surface mount next to them. It's obviously it's transformed the operational potential of the layout. I can now switch trains very easily if I want to. I made the nice little gantry over the top there with the different road numbers, so I know what's in what road at a glance. That is just a piece of CLS timber that I've painted blank, and then the numbers. I think I got them on Amazon. They're supposed to be for tables in restaurants. So yeah, that's what that is. But yeah, all of this now is all fully automated, all DCC operated, and all can be done from my handset. And yeah, every point on the layout now, every point on the fiddle yard, every single point on the main layout on both sections of it is all DCC operated. So there's no flicking of points with your fingers or hands flying in to knock over your models. It's all done remotely. But yeah, like I said, not very exciting, but probably the most transformative thing that I've done as far as operations go. Now, since the last video, there's been a new loco released, the Cavalex Class 56, and I don't normally go into too much detail on the locos and things that I've got on the layout, but this is definitely worth mentioning. I think I originally only ordered one of these models. I'd ordered the EWS variant, but after getting that I was so impressed with it, I decided to get some more. So I've got 4 in total now. I've got triple grey variants. Now these ones are not off the shelf. I've reworked these into Transrail livery. And you've got one there that's just poking his head outside the shed. They're all those two are reworks. Now I've got to say, Cavalex 56 for me probably the best modern image model that I own. I think the only thing that would compare to it is, I would say, likely to be the Sutton Class 24s and 25s. Obviously they're well out of era for me. So for me, in my collection, these are definitely my favourites. You can see the bogey detail on them is, well, oh, it's gone out of focus, is absolutely insane. I don't think there's anything else like it out there. But yeah, I'm well impressed with these. So I've got myself 4 of these, and yeah, I'm not normally snobby enough to turn around and say, oh well, I'm going to replace all of a class of loco because there's a new variant come out from a new manufacturer and I'm going to go and spend loads of money on them. But with these, I've got rid of my Hornby 56s now. I've now got 4 of these. I've got my 2 Transrail ones, my EWS one, and my load haul one. So yeah, really well chuffed with those. Another model that I've bought that I've been really impressed with and is worthy of a mention is the new Hornby, the Double-O diecast A4 Pacifics. I've picked myself up Union of South Africa. This is a stunning model. I couldn't believe how heavy it was when I picked it up. I think as far as Hornby go, you know, they get a lot of bashing and people having a go at them for not being perfect. But I've got to be honest, as far as theme locos go, the ones that I've owned, they've been magnificent. Definitely for me, my favourite manufacturer for steam locos has got to be Hornby. So that's about it really, as far as layout updates gone. It's been a good 5-6 months, as I say, since I made the last video, I think. I'm sorry that I don't do them more regularly, but I really do just fit them in as and when I can. What I would say is, if you are looking for more regular updates, Instagram's the place I tend to do it. It's really easy for me to just go on there and quickly bung up a post in about 3 seconds. So as and when I do things, they tend to go up there. Yeah, so have a little look at that if that's something that interests you. What I do now, rather than chewing your ear off, talking about anything else or moaning about anything, I will give you a nice few running shots. You can see some bits and pieces going around. I've not covered off all of the new rolling stock that I've got. You'll see things as they go around that you may or may not recognise. One other thing that I've had is a new Raycurve Batman Mark II Virgin cross-country coaches. I really wanted these since they came out, and they've started to come down in price to be something a little bit more reasonable now. So I treated myself to those recently. Yeah, so keep an eye out for those in the video. There'll be bits and pieces going. But other than that, thank you to everyone for watching and yeah, contributions and comments on the video, etc. Look forward to speaking to you all soon, and hopefully the next video will be a little bit based around the new Gowerton Vale, as we're going to call it, extension. Let me know what you think of the name for Gowerton Vale as well. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it works better than Gowerton Parkway given the style of the station. Yeah, cool. Catch you all later. Thank you very much, and enjoy the running clips.